When I first set my PCT FKT in 2013, what I didn't anticipate was how many people wanted to hear my story. Over and over and over, people wanted me to get up and talk about my experience on the trail. And so I did. I went dozens and dozens of places talking about my hike. And I talked about the ins and the outs and the ups and the downs. Much of what I chronicle in my book, Thirst. And I also learned that even though I'm an incredibly private, introverted person, that the more I shared my story, the more I connected with people. And at a certain point, I couldn't just share the actual nitty-gritty of a hike anymore without sharing the internal journey, the things that happened to me along the way, to myself personally. And so as I began to share those things, I began to connect even deeper to complete strangers, to other hikers, to people who'd never hiked. And I reached a turning point in my life about a year after that hike, where I had to choose whether I was going to continue to share this journey, whether I was going to continue to be open and vulnerable, or whether I was going to walk away from it forever. And for a little while I walked away, and I didn't talk about my hike. I didn't talk about my journey. I shared my adventures online, my pictures of me on the tops of mountains and, my epic runs. Those things are easy to share. What's harder to share is our humanity, our vulnerability. And I learned eventually that our vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. And I learned, as time went on, how my experiences and the lessons I learned on the trail were things that everyone in the world can connect with. And I decided that I wanted to share and to continue to open, even though it was hard for an introvert like myself. Because I believe there's value in sharing our connected humanity, as well as a love of the wilderness and the powerful things that nature can bring up inside of us. And I always joked, that someday when I was retired and no longer able to hike, I would write down my stories. I would write these things out for people to read. And last year, I wrote Thirst, 2,600 miles to home. And I can say without a doubt, I am not retired from hiking or running, even though my desire for an FKT has changed. I don't need to push myself to limits to answer certain questions anymore. My relationship with nature and with myself and with the trails has evolved and changed. That's just the way life is. But what I am excited to do, and what I'm really excited to tell everybody here today, is that in 2021, there will be a second book. And this book will be a continuation of my story, of my journeys. And I'm really excited to share with you the growth that takes place. One of the biggest challenges writing Thirst was to write back in time, to go back in time to that woman who I was, and write about it from that mindset without sharing everything I've learned since then. And so I'm really, really excited to once again be working with Mountaineers Books to bring you the next installment of my story, the continuation of the journey at the end of Thirst, where I am somewhat lost inside myself, even though I've accomplished this huge thing, and what I do with that and where I go from there. And so stay tuned on my Instagram, on my website, for more details as that book evolves and emerges, and you'll be the first to know when it is available for sale. And I am very excited to share these stories with you.